So great chassis, great lightweight package, love the handling, but the rear shock is just really hard to get into a controllable tune.
My name's Guy Kestevan. I've been a professional mountain bike tester for nearly 25 years, and today the bike I'm live ride reviewing is the brand new Specialized Stumpjumper Expert.
So, brand new Stumpjumper, obviously big news, one of the original production mountain bikes and still one of the most important mountain bikes around, always been a classic all-rounder. So news of a new one, always a big deal. First up, as you'll see from that intro, they haven't gone to the lower linkage setup that they've done on the Enduro. That's what some people are expecting. Layout is very, very similar. Completely that asymmetric strut frame, but details are very, very different. For a start, FSR has no rear pivot. This bike now has fixed rear stays, so it's the flex in the back end, not a pivot on the chainstay, that's creating the movement. And the other big difference for this year is that this Stumpjumper, the standard one, actually drops significantly in travel. So it was a 150 bike, it's now a 130 at the rear, 140 at the fore. So, you know, that's a lot less travel that you're dealing with. And it's got 34 forecut front, so it's lighter on that side, but also it's only available in 29er. They've tweaked the geometry as well. So, shorter travel, but slacker at the front, so 65 now by my calculations, rather than 66.5 previously, and a lot longer. I mean, we've measured this, we haven't got the official figures from Specialized yet, but measured this at 485mm reach, so proper stretch on this large now. Although they don't call it a large, they're using the same sizing they introduced on their other bikes. So this is an S4, and there's an S5 and an S6 now. So, and I have to say, that extra length, it's got a pretty low head tube as well, 120mm, so you're properly hunkered down on this bike now, and it feels so much calmer at speed than the old one. The old one was very smooth and kind of, it was bland. It was enormously bland and kind of short and non-threatening and very safe, but it never felt even remotely dynamic, whereas this properly encourages you to give it some beat. Proper little feisty bike, this. But although it's longer and it's slacker, because they've gone down a little bit in travel and they've very much made it more of a sort of XC trail bike rather than borderline enduro, and there's no commonality now with the Evo. They've made it a lot lighter as well, so 250 grams in the mainframe on this bike, lighter than previous Stumpjumper. So, and you can feel that a little bit in the longer length of this 34 up front. Woo! There's a little bit of flutter occasionally when I'm cross-threading, obviously blind riding these tracks up near, sorry, Strava line, but because it's lower, it's a lot more fun to get your knee into the top tube and really let go of it on these faster sections. Guys, love, definitely feels tighter as a package now, whereas the old one kind of felt, like I say, very upright and generic. This one feels like you can do more with the tyres, and you've got box front rear, Performance Elite, so fully tunable and it's actually a Grip 2 damper on this 34 at the front, so that's new spec. Oh, hello. That's new spec for this year. Concentrate on the trail KES. Got the damper specs. So you got full low and high speed compression and rebound on the fork, so loads of adjustment to play with. To be fair, I've just got it fully open at the moment. And then on the rear you've got 3 position compression adjustment on the open setting, and then pedal and fully closed. And there's some other nice features as well. The swap box, that was something I loved having on my long termer. Just such a smart, useful design. I mean, obviously Trek have ripped it off now, so it's not exclusive, but still fantastic concept. So if there's a short push-up, this bike feels amazingly light, and it feels really nimble and agile, even with a 55mm stem on it. That's only going to get better with a short stem, and it goes really nicely over like roots and stutter bumps under power. It's really supple in that respect, but the pedaling action, for all their hype about it pedaling well, I think it's soggier than ever. You can physically see the movement in that little vertical linkage. That's before you even put the torque down hard. So yes, the traction is awesome, body position on climbs is awesome, but power delivery, a kind of hero feeling of the bike getting firm when you put the power down, just is not there. It's really weird when that was a clearly stated priority of the rest of the bike. So now it's time to see how that longer, slacker bike does on some more twisty, techie stuff. Stuck with a 34 fork, just to, you know, keep the lightweight feel of the bike. You're still getting a 200mm front rotor, 30mm internal rims, and a decent size of tyre on here as well. So even though it's a lot lighter, you know, there's still some pretty burly component choices on there. Just got the saddle in my arse. That was nearly an over the bars moment. And I have to say, that's the only thing kind of letting it down a little bit. It's just torsional rigidity of that 34 fork. You know, you can feel it giving way in certain places. And you've got 780mm bar, which is, you know, great for power assisted leverage. So geometry, totally dialed. Position on the bike, whether you're cornering or whether you're climbing, really well centered, and then that steep seat angle getting you ready for climbing as well. The one big question we have is the shock performance, and part of that problem is it's just really hard to tell what's going on, because there is a lot going on. Even though it's only 130mm of travel, you've got those flex stays creating a deliberate negative spring effect up to kind of the sag point, and then a kind of positive spring. And also this DPS shock has a pretty interesting tune. Basically very little low speed, but the compression damping is digressive, so the more you load it, the lower the resistance. And then it's got, well, comparatively heavy rebound tune to kind of work with the spring of those stays. So there is a lot going on here. And also, what's weird is for a bike where they've really prioritized that low weight, they've chased every gram they can out of it, you know, giving it that steep seat angle, reduced the travel, and just, you know, publicly stated they want maximum climbing efficiency out of it. It's weird that they've actually decreased the anti-squat over the previous Stumpjumper. All the low speed kind of pedal stability comes out of this new shock tune. but you can see it when you're pedaling it, and you can feel it. There's still a lot of shock movement. You know, you're physically pulling the shock down into the start of its stroke with the chain tension. And they've spent countless hours, 130 different revisions on this frame to get the feel right. And it does feel brilliant, you know, swooping and swerving through single track, but when you start really pushing that back end, there's definitely just an element of unpredictability and just not being sure what it's going to do next. And the harder you ride the bike, the more obvious that becomes. I mean, if you're happy cruising on it, then it's just a really nice, smooth, poppy, lively, it feels like a steel bike back there. But you know, if you're trying to load it and drive it hard through flat pedals and really push the back end, that's where you're going to run into problems with, you know, your feet blowing off or the damping suddenly falling off after that really aggressive start. And that's where you're going to run into difficulties with this bike. And having ridden the Evo now, which just is so sorted, so planted and easy to push hard, and the only limiting factor on that are the tyres, really. Whereas this bike, even though the tyres are actually slipperier, they don't feel like they're limiting it. You know, and I feel really awkward and arrogant saying this when you've listened to hour-long presentations involving people like, you know, Peter Denk, absolute gurus, incredibly experienced frame designers and composite and suspension engineers. But at the end of the day, it's just doing what flex day bikes always seem to do. There's a lot of spring and joy in this bike if you can get that back end controlled. But it's definitely the Evo you want. If you want fully grounded, fully plush, and dare I say it, actually better pedaling manners. Let's just be honest, if you want the best pedaling bike, you want the Enduro, which just seems weird when this is a 130mm bike where they deliberately chase 250 grams out of the frame. And it certainly never fulfills that old cliche of feeling like it's got more travel than it actually has. And I don't know, maybe I'm not clever enough, or it's too clever for its own good, but I mean, there are so many good bikes in this category now, and it's such a shame when it feels still a really fun, poppy, light and agile feeling bike with great geometry. But there's definitely some questions surrounding the rear shock that I want to spend more time trying to get the head round, trying to work out if you can dial out these issues, or whether it's just kind of inherent in that flex day design.
So there you go, I guess that's the bottom line, really. Thank you very much to Specialized guys over there for inviting me on this launch. Massive thanks to my patron sponsors, who are the guys who makes, you know, taking time out to do videos like this possible, and their names have been scrolling up here. If you'd like what I'm doing on the channel, please consider joining them with a small monthly pledge to the channel, and you'll get extended behind the scenes cuts and sort of higher level of feedback from me in terms of like shopping and technical advice if you want it. But for now, I've been Guy Kestevan on Guykest TV, live ride reviewing the brand new Specialized Stumpjumper Expert. I've had the bike again since I shot the launch video, but I think there's genuinely some questions about the suspension that I still haven't got to the bottom of. So keep watching the channel for what I eventually think of it.